everyone. Welcome to another thrilling episode of BandChat. I'm Austin. I'm your host for this episode, and with me we have Miles.
Hello.
We have Mike.
Hey.
And we have Brayson.
Hello.
And so for today's episode, we're going to be talking about the making of, I guess, what is technically our last full release, Pretend. But to start it off, we're going to start with an icebreaker, which is favorite Canadian band, not including us.
Yes, of course.
Okay, Mike, you go first.
Sorry, favorite Canadian band?
Yes, favorite Canadian band.
I feel like
ever. You could. I feel like you can create your own criteria for it. It doesn't have to be ever. You know.
Sure. Okay. I'm still gonna say ever because they're not a band anymore. But We Are the City is mine. I feel like they're just like Vancouver's darling in a way, or they were. Like I just feel like everybody really loved them, including me. I've probably seen them like 7 or 8 times.
Same.
Yeah, I just their energy, their creativity. I love those guys. They are or loved. R.I.P.
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 Miles, what about you?
See, I had a struggle thinking of this one because, like, currently, I literally did some Googling. I was like, Canadian bands, just refresh to see the full list, you know, just to see what's going on. And I wanted to go with one that I actually like grew up listening to more so, because I'm gonna give an honorable mention as well, though.
Okay.
So the first one that came to mind, which is weird because, like I said, their more recent stuff, not a huge fan of, but I really dug Mariana's Trench back in the day.
Oh,
like when they
absolutely.
they were in their pop punk prime, like Fix Me and what was the Masterpiece Theater. Like those two albums were just like, I love those albums. So based on those 2 albums alone, I would say like they were my favorite Canadian band at the time. So I don't want to say ever, but then the honorable mention for me was Rush, because that was another big influence for me.
Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. Brayson, do you have a favorite Canadian band?
Honestly, I forget who's Canadian and who's not. So
that's why I Googled, because I was like, who's Canadian? Justin Bieber? He's not a band.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Someone could have said that.
He just is.
I don't know if I can pick a favorite right now, but I'm really loving Dear Rouge. I've been listening to them like almost every day for the past couple months. So I'd go with Dear Rouge.
Great choice. For me, so I had 2 guesses originally. Mike took one of mine. We're the City has been a favorite band of mine for a long time, but I decided for my second choice, I was going to give a specific shout out to actually a band we played with on tour who put out a really fucking awesome record recently. They're from Edmonton. They're called The Den. If you haven't checked out their album Phases,
Hell yeah.
it's fantastic.
Ooh.
You will love it.
That's a good answer.
The live show too. Remember that live show we were just sitting there like literally there's 3. They're a trio, right? They're a
4.
trio.
There's 4.
There are 4.
Yeah.
A 4-0.
Yeah, a 4-0. But man, their live performance was absolutely incredible. They were so tight.
Yeah.
Speaking of live performances, it reminds me of Yes We Mystic, when that one guy went over to the keyboard and started playing it backwards, like on the other side of it.
Yeah.
That blew me away.
Yeah.
Excellent band.
You know, we'll at some point, probably on another episode, we'll touch on like some really great artists that we've seen on tour, because that was always the coolest part about being on tour, is just being consistently humbled night after night by just the sheer amount of talent across the country. So there's just a couple examples, but all right, well, that's the icebreaker. The ice is broken. The pickaxe has been picked up. Hit the ice.
Axe.
Yeah. And now the lake that is the rest of the episode is breaking open. So let's move on. So the topic we have going on for today is our EP Pretend and the making of that. So basically we set the scene back in 2017, which was right after what was the album before Pretend?
Younger.
Thank you. I drew a blank.
There's only 3 albums.
And we only have like 300 of those CDs still.
Oh.
If you want
True.
one, www.royalookofficial.bandcamp.com.
Oh no Bandcamp. Just right on
No
the website.
Bandcamp.
Oh, yeah, right. We moved everything right to our website, www.royalookofficial.com. Wink, wink. Anyway, so this was right after our younger tour. So who wants to set the stage on this one?
Yeah,
The silence is deafening.
no, I mean,
Nobody wants to.
I just remember we basically came back and we were just kind of like, all right, let's get right to her. But it's weird. Like, I don't remember exactly how like we started writing, because the songs on this record were so different from the songs that were on Younger, right? So in
think,
terms of like the songwriting process, I guess it was similar in the sense that we just came together. Someone brought an idea, we started jamming stuff. But this is where the shift into pop came. But it was such a smooth transition that I can't even really remember how we like dove into it.
I think it was like it had a lot to do with our live show, and like when we toured Younger, we were like, oh, we have a lot of like pop or poppier songs on this album, and they work really well live, and we all felt like that's the direction we wanted to go in naturally.
Yeah.
So I feel like when we got back into the writing space, it was just like, let's write some dancey songs, and that's all we're gonna write, and then we're gonna put that out.
Yeah, I think it did really come from tour, because it was like, I remember us coming back from our first tour, and we were like, hell yeah, this is the best thing ever. Let's do this more. So like, let's write an album so that we can go on tour again. And we were, and I think like, yeah, like the sort of poppy songs worked well, and then we just like went from there.
Yeah, what I recall, I believe we wrote about, I want to say 7 or 8 songs within the span of about 3 or 4 months, I'd say.
It was quick. I remember it being really quick, and us like pumping them out and being like, whoa.
Yeah.
We wrote how many songs right now?
Yeah.
Was that, out of curiosity, you said 7 or 8 songs, and I'm just trying to remember which ones the other ones were. I'm pretty sure one was Tuna.
Oh yeah, Tuna
we're
Genocide.
gonna get into the we're gonna get into the working titles. Should we just go there now?
I'll take the wheel on this one. All right, so this has been a fundamental part of the band pretty much ever since it started. Actually, no, probably ever since Younger. The writing of Younger was really started this. Essentially, whenever we start writing a brand new song and we have like our first version of a demo of a rough anything, we always turn to Miles and we say, Miles, what is this song called? And then Miles just kind of takes about 5 seconds. He sits there, he ponders, and he comes up with the most absurdist name possible.
Absurdist.
The most absurdist.
Yeah. Or we try. I try at least.
I think you do a very good job. So, for example, one of the songs that we were just talking about was aptly titled Tuna Genocide.
Yeah.
Was it apt? Was that apt?
What's that?
Can you guys just like leave my choice in describing words alone, please?
But yeah, like that was definitely one that was left off. I remember that one. What about
there was like a grass.
I feel like that was like a Younger track, wasn't it?
I thought
that
that
was a Younger track.
What was that? What was the name for that one?
Drywall feels
hurts better.
Drywall hurts better in your ears.
Drywall hurts better in your ears. Didn't even remember that one. I don't even remember half of these. But yeah, so getting back on track. Now that the preface is set with the working titles, because that's very important as we go into talking about the demo process of the songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, we got into it. We started writing. Things were a little bit more poppy. What like Brayson was saying, what other songs were there? So there was like, in terms of the ones that got cut, Tuna Genocide was one.
We had the 5/4 one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Kind of like an acoustic-y, like.
Yeah.
I don't think it ever had a name.
I always called it New Apartment.
Yeah.
I had to set the lyrics for it.
Has that new apartment smell.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
And then there was that one that was like,
oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And then then the other one that's like,
Oh yeah,
this is
Yeah.
also, I'm sorry to the people who are listening or watching this portion of the podcast. This all means nothing to you.
Blah blah
I do
blah
think-
blah.
but I remember the. Do you guys remember the names for those?
I remember the names for
ones?
both of those.
I do too.
They had names?
Yeah,
Yes.
so I think the one that went da 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 was Flatulence of the Grass.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes.
I knew one of them was
yes.
grass.
And
Yeah.
surprisingly, the second one is worse because
It
it
was
was, I think we called it Rusty. I shouldn't say we, Miles called it Rusty Foam Tits.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm giving him all of the credit and also all of the discredit.
Yeah, I'm like everyone. I'm just being hella exposed right now. Everyone's like, "Oh man, this
I know.
guy-
As I was explaining all this, and as soon as I was like, and Miles, I was like, oh yeah.
Like imagine,
just-
imagine my students find this. Like for those of you who don't know, I TA at Simon Fraser University. So hello students. Honestly, by the time this comes out, might be graduated by then. So it'll
Or
be
it'll be
okay.
hella famous and it'll be fine.
Exactly. Won't
Yeah.
matter. But regardless, either way, I'm being exposed for my raunchy random titles.
Yeah. Surprisingly, I feel like those are some of the worst ones. Like the ones that made
I think
like
they
5
are.
songs made the cut for Pretend, which you know the real names of. But I don't remember what Tell Me was called.
The worst Oprah
Oh,
Winfrey show?
no. Rubber.
Rubber tweed reinforcements.
That's
Oh,
right.
That's
yes,
it.
yes.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Rubber Tweed Reinforcements. Mistakes was called Hanyo,
Yeah.
which
Which-
was just like the sounds that Miles made. All Comes Back to You was the worst Oprah Winfrey show.
Oh, okay.
I didn't make that one.
No, that came from something. Who knows? Like an inside joke. Of some
It was
kind.
some. Yeah, I can't remember what it was. It was something
feel-
about like you get a something, you get a something.
Yeah,
I feel like it was me.
it was
it was
definitely
you.
Austin.
I feel like it
'cause
was
Austin
a me
does that
something.
like daily.
Yeah.
And
Thanks.
then only one was called Pinstripe Tinpipe, which I think is an excellent name.
Yeah, that's one that goes down in demo history, and Brayson's losing it.
And
I remember for the longest time, all my keyboard patches for like our pretend tour were all labeled by their demo name. So I would go and we'd be playing only one, and it would be called like Tin Pipe Verse, Tin Pipe Chorus, Tin Pipe Bridge.
Yeah, I had the same
Pinstripe
thing on my
Tinpipe.
base station.
And then
and
there
then
was yeah, Mike.
Hold
Continue,
to
please.
Nothing was. This one was also a little raunchy. Micropube Processor.
Oh,
I feel like
yes,
that's not
yes.
raunchy. I feel like in
It's
terms.
wow. Sorry.
I feel like, you know,
It sounds a lot worse because everyone always just shortened it to micropube.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, the best part was when our mix engineer was sending us mixes, and he'd be like, "Here's another revision of Micropube. Enjoy."
Oh, we will.
Yeah.
So we took these songs, these strangely named pop songs, and we approached Paul Beckler, who did Younger.
He mixed Younger.
So yeah, he mixed Younger. And so we approached him. We were like, hey, we want to do more songs. We want to do more songs with you. And I remember we had him over, and he like came into the basement where we jam, and we gave him like a set of like Beats headphones, because at that point we were like we weren't playing with amps, so everything was being like fed into a headphone system. So we like found a pair of Beats, gave them to him, and he listened to them, and he was like, okay, sweet. And then he kind of like he dropped a little bit of a bomb on us. It was not a bad bomb, but it was a bomb nonetheless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess he just. Austin, you go ahead. I think you. Can
Yeah,
explain it
I
better.
think at the end of the day, what the vision that sort of Paul had in terms of what the EP looked like, and sort of the vision that we had in terms of what the upcoming EP would look like, were a little bit different. And we wanted to do something a bit poppier. He wanted to kind of take the more indier of our songs and kind of go in that direction. And so there was a bit of an artistic disagreement there. So essentially, we made the mutual decision that that we weren't going to work with Paul on this, and he agreed. And it was definitely the right choice. And it was interesting because Paul was the one that actually brought it up first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there was like no negativity at all.
Oh,
like
no.
he was
No.
just like, based on what you guys have showed me, I feel like we're envisioning different things, and like if
Yeah.
this is gonna be more of a pop record, you probably don't want me at the helm of it because I'm not a pop guy. Like that
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
That
and
was
that's
it.
that's truly the sign of like of a good producer is like knowing when to say no and knowing when your talents are actually well suited. So, yeah, so that's how we originally started the process, and then I guess at that point we were kind of scratching our heads a little bit. And we're like, all right, well, now what? And then enter Echo Plant.
Mm-hmm.
Well, before that,
Hmm.
what happened is we were like, we need to figure out what we're gonna do and who we're gonna go with. And we had just seen Said the Whale live,
Mm-hmm.
and Ryan Worsley, who's the guy that we ended up going with, did their album, and we were listening to their album, and we were like, yeah, this is the sound that we want to go with. I think that's where it started.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Because I mean, at that point, Ryan was the guy around town who really had the kind of, the repertoire and sort of the legacy to kind of back up what we were going for. So at that point, I can't remember if we reached out to Ryan directly or if we just reached out to Echo Plant. I think we
No,
just
it
reached out
was
to Echo Plant.
wasn't it like super like like I feel like a lot of the things now that I think about it with this record were like very serendipitous, but we had that conversation where we were like, oh, Ryan would be such a good person to mix this, and then didn't he come into your work, Bryson? Like
Oh yeah.
like a week later?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I was working at Lama Quaid, which is a musical instrument store in Canada, and it's just a few blocks away from the studio. And he went there to shop all the time. I met him, and I was essentially like, "Hey, you're this guy," and he's like, "Yep." I'm like, can we work with you?" And he was like, "Yeah, send me an email, I guess."
Sounds
So
good.
we did, and yeah. Well, you know how I am. I'm quite awkward, especially in social interactions. Anyway, we sent him an email, and we ended up meeting up with him at his Studio A, which is in his house. And we played the songs for him. And
Yeah, the
I can't
demos.
remember exactly. Yeah, the demos. I can't remember exactly what he said.
I remember him being like, "Yeah, these are really cool," but he loved Tell Me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which
yes.
at that point was still called rubber tweed reinforcements. So basically, everything just got shortened at that point. So that one just became rubber tweed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he really liked that version, or like he really liked that demo that we brought him, and so I believe we eventually kind of got to a deal where he's like, "Yeah, let's work on this one like it's a lead single, and then like let's have you work with Matt." Who is his engineer, Matt DiPomponio, who's now a really good pal of ours, work on Matt with the rest of the record. And so we're like, all right, sweet. Yeah, let's do this. And that kind of pushed us towards sort of our first sessions and experiences at Echo Plant.
Yeah, and it's funny that you like that Bryson that you mentioned Dear Rouge at the beginning of this episode because I remember he like when we went to the studio and we were like, okay, like the vision that we have is like kind of like indie roots, but with with electronic drums and like some synths and stuff, and like kind of best of both worlds. And he was like, "Oh, like I'm working on this new Dear Rouge track called Live Through the Night," and he played us the beginning of it. I remember we all just sat there and we were like,
This.
"Yeah, like this is
Yeah.
this is what we want."
Yeah,
Especially.
I remember walking out of a studio and going back to our cars, and I remember Miles just being like, "Did you guys hear those drums?"
Yeah, I was literally just about to say that. That's so funny you said that because like those drums, because that was one of the bigger shifts of going from younger into this record was like a lot more incorporation of electronic drums using the SPDSX more in a live setting, and in terms of writing, like that was one thing that was really different in our approach. And so I remember like just hearing like I think there was like a set of trap hats in there, or he at least mixed them to sound like they were trap hats and like mixed it with these giant sounding like acoustic drums. And like we kind of talked about like mixing the two and how he like goes about it. And I was just like, oh, like, yes, this is it. That sound is what we need, is basically what I left that studio feeling.
Yeah, and if you listen to Pretend, wink wink, you'll see that we got there. We got that. And Yeah, it was a super gratifying process, but there was a lot of other really great things that came from that. So, the first being that I touched on earlier, we became really good friends with Matt DiPomponio, who is like basically the head engineer at Echo Plant. Super super rad guy. We've worked with him pretty much on every release since. So,
Yeah.
and then one of the other notable moments of sort of that whole process of making pretend was making another friendship, which was our friend Chersey.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So we kind of fast forwarded a little bit. So now we're in the studio, I guess you could say. We have started tracking at this point. And in terms of how we did it, was this one of the ones where we did? Was this the one where we did like the Sunday, like every Sunday of a month? Was it that?
Yes.
It was.
Yes,
Like
yes, it was
like in January and February, or was it just? It was just January.
It was January and parts of the beginning of February, because a little bit in December as well, I think, and then January.
Oh,
and
drums
then,
were in
one
December.
week in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes.
We did 2 drum
And then
days
we
in
recorded-
December.
And then
Yeah.
we recorded throughout January. Okay, I'm just
Austin,
gonna, I'm
do you
just
want-
gonna, I'm just gonna break this. I'm just gonna break this right now. Brayson is like sweating. He really wants to tell this story. So,
Yeah, absolutely, I do.
it's so Miles had his chance to be exposed. So I guess now it's my turn. Brayson, go for it. And this is the most classic case of me putting my foot in my mouth I think ever.
Oh, I know.
Spoilers.
I know exactly.
Okay, so it's like, just go.
So we're at Ryan's house and we're talking about like making a recording schedule. And we all worked day jobs. So our only free day was Sunday, right? So we're like, yeah, let's book every Sunday in January. And Austin's like, hell yeah, record with the Lord. And he's like, wait, you're not Christian, are you?
To Ryan, he said this.
To
Yes,
Ryan.
I said this to Ryan.
And Ryan's like, actually, yeah, I am.
And that's how we got kicked out of Echo Plant. No.
The best part is that there's that huge stained glass window in the studio, like right above the piano. And I remember
Yeah.
walking in and we were all like, recording with the Lord. Hey, Austin. And it's like,
But it was fine. Like it was laughed off.
yeah.
It was all
yeah.
in good fun. But like
Yeah.
that was
Yeah,
it
yeah.
was just so. Actually, yes, I am.
Yeah, no. Ryan didn't take any offense to that at all, thankfully. But yeah, that was I don't know if I'd call that a moment of infamy or or just one of my best moments. But it's
like-
I think it.
It's like you just didn't have a filter. It's like it immediately appeared in your brain and then right out your mouth.
Yep, it was definitely a defining part of my character arc, whatever the fuck that may be.
All right. So
anyway.
yeah.
you're talking about Chersey.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're recording these songs and we're talking to Ryan and we're like, yeah, we kind of want a female vocalist on the second verse of Hanyo, which is Mistakes.
Mhm.
And he's like, oh yeah, I could see that. Do you guys know Chersey? And we're all like, oh yeah, we've heard of her. He's like, yeah, she's got this super smoky voice that would fit perfectly. And we were like, sweet, let's do that. And then literally the next day, I'm playing a gig where Chersey happens to be working at doing a photo booth. It was like a Christmas party or something. And I bump into her and it was the same type of deal. We're like, hey, you're this person. And she's like, yeah. I'm like, can you sing on my song?
Brayson just always getting hit with the serendipity. He's just like, hey, I was just talking about you. Can I
Yeah.
do things with you regarding my music?
Yeah, like the person who's probably like the worst of the four of us to like handle like first time interactions has to deal with all of them in the span of like a couple weeks.
It was so much like, you know, when you ask someone if you could be friends with them, like way back in elementary school or whatever, it felt like that. Do you think we could like be friends?
Yeah.
Anyway, it worked out.
It did work out. We have Mistakes is probably one of my favorite songs of ours,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah,
I would say.
it's like
an
a live show mainstay.
Mhm.
It's an absolute bop and a half, and so yeah. So I guess after you met her, you were just like, hey, had another moment of another serendipitous moment. We're like, wow, you have a weird streak of these. Moving on from that, so eventually, yeah, we brought her into the studio, and we to be honest, we didn't do a very good due diligence on our end. We were just kind of like, all right, here's what we want you to sing. Like, we didn't really prepare her at all. She just kind of walked in. We're like, here's the thing.
Oh yeah, it was totally like that.
Yeah, but regardless, she killed it.
She
Like,
did.
Basically, it took her maybe what, an hour,
Yeah.
two, something like that.
If
Like
that,
we basically just like threw her out of the bus, but then she like grabbed onto the bottom of the bus and then was riding on the bottom of the bus, and we're like, how'd you do that? So she was yeah,
That's
it was.
what she does though.
Oh, I know. Yeah,
true.
she's very much an average rider on the bottom of the bus.
An underbus clinger.
A bus cleaner.
No, she just like she's the type of person that just like takes something thrown at her and just like, okay, let's do it. Let's get this done. Fuck it, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's talented enough that she can roll with the punches and still make it sound like she's been doing it, like she's been practicing for months. So yeah, and so basically, yeah, we brought her in. She did her stuff, and it went super well.
Yeah.
And it's probably, yeah, like you said, it's probably one of my favorite songs. Definitely one of my favorite live songs.
Yeah. I mean,
Oh yeah.
overall, just
Mhm.
recording for this record, like it was lots of fun. Like it was just good
It
because
was a
we
lot
had
of fun.
like I remember like throughout the Sundays, throughout the record with the Lord days, we'd have people come in to hang out, right? Like I think we had didn't Mac come in once?
Yeah, we had some of the guys in for like gang vocals.
Yeah, Jarrett
Yeah.
came in to chill. It was
Yeah,
fun.
we had quite a few friends come in, do anything from smaller to larger parts. It really kind of made the whole process of recording Pretend feel really much, Echo Plant's already a really vibey studio, and it already feels like home as soon as you walk in. But just having friends in, you're just kind of like laughing, shooting the shit while a couple other the guys are they're doing a keyboard track, or they're doing like they're just like live automating guitar pedals while you're recording, turning them on and off. And it was just it really kind of brought in a spirit of collaboration that felt really cool, whether it be big or small.
Well,
Yeah.
and it was our first time doing a whole record in a studio, right? Like we'd done drums in the studio, but other than that, like you guys did the entire first record at Jarrett's house, and we recorded pretty much everything for the like for Younger at Jarrett's house as well. So this was like our first time like doing everything in the studio with the mix engineer and an assistant and like all this stuff. And it was dope. Like it was it's like
was a
such a
treat.
cool experience.
It was really dope.
Yeah.
And I'm just like looking back at our highlights just so I can jog my memory, just so because I feel like a lot of people don't like, we're kind of skipping over the actual process, and I feel like some people would actually be interested into like like what actually goes on, like what do you start with when you record an album, right? Like so I'm just looking here, and we actually started off, so we did drums in December, and we actually recorded live off the floor. So that was really interesting.
Yeah.
That people
Yeah.
is that more common nowadays, or is like
I'm not exactly sure.
It depends on the project and on the genre you're going for. In a lot of cases, sure, but in many cases also no. So I think it's I think it's just too dependent.
Yeah.
To really
I
say for
remember
sure.
it being like one of our criteria going into this EP is that we wanted it to have the same energy that our live show does. So we were like, what's the best way to do that? Well, let's record the drums as if we're playing live together.
yeah.
And we did that with
Yeah.
a bit of the bass too.
Yeah, a lot of the bass was
Yeah.
used from those live sessions. Yeah.
Because we had the space, right? Like it was
Yeah.
the first time that we had the space to all jam in one room and like and lay down the tracks. So that was the energy, I think, really translated.
Yeah.
It was it was super fun. And basically because we were recording in an actual studio, we got a lot of like you guys said, we got a lot of firsts on that record. We basically got the luxury of, oh, look at all these keyboards. Oh, look, we have so many different guitar choices, so many different pedal choices, different amp choices. Like it basically just allowed us to like very quickly expand our sonic palette
Oh
in
Yeah.
a way that we hadn't been able to before, and especially under the watchful eye of Matt, who has engineered the entire thing. He was a really big guiding light in that whole process, and I think really he made that record sort of the sort of like the indie rock and like pop hybrid we were going for, because Matt has a lot of roots in like rock music. So basically we'd have a part and he'd be like, it needs more fuzz, and then he'd stuff a fuzz pedal in there, and that was pretty much the theme of the record. It was like, needs more fuzz. Like
Yeah.
legit. We probably used about like, I think at least 4 or 5 different fuzz pedals on that record, whether it sounds like it or not. They were there.
Yeah, he always said, when in doubt, blow it out.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of live by that now.
Sorry, I missed that.
It's
When in
true.
doubt, what?
Blow it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like Brayson's hair when he's comes out of the shower.
I don't think I've ever actually blow dried my hair.
It's getting
be
long. You
interested.
probably should start
don't-
doing that.
Does it matter though?
I don't know. Does it
because
matter?
we don't go outside.
I don't think it matters.
Wow, we really are men. all the females listening to this are like, these blithering idiots. We're literally saying it doesn't matter if you blow dry your hair.
The
There's
worst
literally
part-
zero difference.
The worst part is that my girlfriend is a hairdresser.
All right, she'll have to answer that question.
Definitely.
Anywho.
But yeah, in terms of sort of getting back on track there, besides Brayson's daily hair routine, there was a lot of like really creative moments that we really touched on in this record, and I think one of which that is my favorite is when I had the opportunity to yell into a guitar.
Oh, that's so funny.
as a track.
I was looking at it.
Oh, you just came up on it.
Frig, the emojis.
And you can't see that at all.
I'm showing it to my camera.
Yeah. For the people who are just listening in on audio, sorry. For the people who aren't, congratulations, you can see that.
It made the record, didn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's in there.
It's in mistakes, right? Do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So basically, in mistakes, the guitar parts where Mike's going wah, 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 wah. I'm yelling into a guitar going do, 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 do. And the guitar was just plugged into what I think like a reverb pedal and into a little combo amp, and that made the record. It was a sound that was actually there. We did it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was.
And I remember when we were doing the music video for that song, we had Jessie be the lead in the music video, and she was listening to the song on the way up, and she's like, "It sounds like someone's meowing in your song."
Kind
like,
of.
You're not that far off.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly, and then one of the other things I wanted to touch on with this as well is Mike found a newfound love while recording this record, in the form of a Gretsch guitar.
That guitar that Austin yelled into? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you,
Exactly.
do you have it on you, Mike?
I do. For those
You do.
for those on video, you get to see
Yeah.
the sparkles.
Ooh.
Man, people who are listening, I'm sorry, you're getting really pooched this record, but
This
yeah,
episode?
So basically, yeah, whatever.
This record.
We're musicians.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
yeah, we use it. It basically got used on every song, and I was like, well, guess I should have one for like live purposes. So yeah, so that's why I bought it. See, one of the other experimentations that we did on this record that I was thinking about was that guitar line in Only One, like the bow now, na 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 na, and when we had originally written it, it was all guitar, and then when we went to the studio, we recorded the notes onto like a teeny little like almost like a toy keyboard, like sample pad, and then we played it out with samples, and that gave it that weird like kind of stuttery effect.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
definitely
believe-
something I'd like to try again with some other instruments.
Yeah, I believe the keyboard in question was a Casio SK5
Oh, it was a
for all
Casio.
you nerds at home. Yeah, basically it had an internal sort of mic input where you could basically just feed it sounds, and so then it had a bunch of little, like 8 little proto beat pads. I don't know what else I'd call them, and you just press it, and you can play stuff back. So we used that a fair amount on the record too. But yeah, there's just a bunch of small moments in that record, along with the new environment that really just made it so memorable and so special.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
definitely.
only memorable, but I would say it was a huge learning experience because we took all of that and we have used all of that knowledge and all those ideas for everything we've done since, especially on the music that we're working on now. It's just like now that we've seen what it can be like, now that we've had someone show us the light, essentially,
Yeah,
we're like, we can do this. We can figure it out.
Yeah.
exactly.
And when we're in doubt, we blow it out.
Exactly.
true.
That's my life motto.
Or we rip out an omnichord.
That's also true.
That was
Yeah,
that was one of my
had a lot
favorite
of that.
things. Yeah, and in mistakes.
Yeah.
And didn't
You
we
know-
load up Mike's your sample pads?
Yeah, that's what I play live
Yeah.
during the verses.
Yeah, it's a little omnichord sample. But so yeah, basically the whole motto of the studio process is when in doubt, use an omnichord.
And Austin, can you explain what that is briefly for those who don't know?
Oh boy. Okay, so for all you nerds at home, part 2, Electric
No,
Boogaloo.
for those who aren't musicians, I would say try to
all you
I'm a
all
first
you-
grader.
for all you not nerds / first graders at home, part 1, not Electric Boogaloo. Essentially, an omnichord is essentially sort of an electronic auto harp. That did not help. Okay, let me put it this way. Essentially, it's a little like electronic keyboard, but instead of having keys, it has a little sort of electronic, like touch sensitive, like strum pad. And so basically, you press buttons in relation to, you say you want an A or a B, major, minor, etc., etc. You push those 2 buttons, and then you strum your finger across the little pad there, and it'll basically play like these little cute little like synthesized arpeggios that are sort of nicely sustained out. It's basically like to put it in layman's terms, it's like a small synth harp.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I would
good.
almost say it's like you're playing a harp while you're inside of a Game Boy game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, why'd you guys ask me to do this? Just ask Brayson to do it. I'm not good at being concise. He's got it down.
Yeah, never ask Austin to explain things ever again.
Never. Don't do it. So yeah,
But he's thorough.
He is
very thorough. I just ramble a lot.
Hey, makes for good conversation, like what we're having right now.
Exactly. And speaking of conversation, that also relates to bad segues. So now we're going to talk about the pre-release section. So basically, so that's sort of the whole process for recording, and then you know what? Let's talk about the mixing process, because that was really, I think, one of the most exciting parts of making this record was having Ryan Worsley mix the record for us, which basically our previous releases had been like fairly indie sounding, and this time we'd wanted something really hi-fi, and so basically I don't think we could have picked a better person for the job. So I remember the first mix we got back was for Tell Me.
Yeah.
And I remember being at Mike's house listening to it for the first time. Yes, we were in your living room.
I don't think I was home.
No, you're you're in Europe still.
I went to Asia. Like literally.
That's
I remember
right.
I left. So maybe you were in my living room, but I left. Like I left our last recording session. Like right at like the end of the day. I like left to go to the airport.
Yeah.
That's
And I was
right.
in-
That's
I was in the
right.
Philippines.
Why were we at Mike's though?
I know. I remember that too. Why were we at Mike's?
I don't know. Wait, you guys were at my house listening to the demo? Or
Yeah.
to
No,
the mix?
to the first mix. Yeah, we listened to it in your living room.
That's so funny. I listened to it in like a hostel. So
I totally forgot you weren't there because I remember being in your living room. I was like, oh yeah, Mike was there, but you 100% weren't. That's right.
And it wasn't even that we like just sat and listened to it. We kind of had like a little bit of a listening party.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wasn't like Dennis and Mac there, or am I tripping?
I'm
I
pretty
feel like
sure
you
they
guys
were
are
there.
thinking of when we listened to like the full record in its
No.
entirety when we got it back, like the first. No, okay, I don't know.
I remember this being like first listen, first mix, being like, to put it bluntly, oh fuck.
Yeah.
Because like it was exactly what we were going for in terms of sound. Like it yeah, it was just that really like hi-fi polished sound that we were really going after, and being able to just actually hear your dreams instantly be realized. Is that like too corny?
I wouldn't.
It's
Well,
the right
like-
amount of corny.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I think it
agree.
makes sense. I remember when we listened to it, I looked over at Miles and he was just kind of like awestruck, just like sitting there. And he's like, that's a fucking song. I'm like, yeah, it's supposed to be. He's like, no, like that sounds like what a song should sound like.
So needless to say, you can tell we were pretty blown away by the first mix, and then everything else was it was super great after that too. But just have that first moment of just being like, oh hell yeah, is just something that really sticks out in my mind. But
Absolutely.
basically just the whole mixing process was something that was, first of all, super interesting to hear, because there were some things that Ryan kind of changed up and did differently in terms of how he recorded it, made some things different. And not that we hadn't had that in the past before, but it was just, basically because we were kind of diving into sort of the realm more in like pop music. It was just it was a whole new experience in that context, and being like, yeah, that's a pop thing to do. Yeah, that's a pop thing to do. And being like, yeah, that makes sense. It was definitely a different experience overall, for sure.
Yeah, I remember him. He like completely changed the verse in Mistake, or not the verse, the bridge in Mistakes.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
And the guitar line in the verses on Tommy.
He actually played a guitar part in the verses of Town. He like pulled out. He did that little like delay part in the
he
in
did
the
it.
second half.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
added
tracked
it.
that.
Yeah.
I think there's a couple things like that on there that he just like did, because I don't know, he just hears it and he does it and it works. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like the bridge of Mistakes was probably the biggest thing, where like we had this like little like drum breakdowny thing almost, like there were all these like stick clicks, and he just like sucked it all in and like threw it in a tunnel, and it was like just ended up being it felt like you were like in a bathroom.
Yeah.
And like a band was playing like in the main room, and I had that like
And he like chopped up all the vocals too. So like all the vocals were
Yeah.
chopped, and it was just like, oh, I remember hearing that. I was like, whoa, this
you're
is
like,
cool.
whoa, it's different.
I
Yeah.
remember
And then
hearing
we
that
listened to it
and
again.
Being like, whoa, we're not gonna do that live.
Yeah. It's like, whoa, yeah, whoa.
Very true.
How are we gonna do that? How are we gonna sound like we're underwater?
Because we've never done that live like that.
No, it's like if we wanted to achieve that, we just have to be like, all right, everybody, for this specific bridge, go to the bathroom.
Yeah. But it's cool. Like I really enjoyed what he did with that song.
Mm-hmm.
Same. Yeah, that one was the one that like though that one and Tell Me are the two standouts to me. Obviously, I love the other tracks as well. But those two, Tell Me and Mistakes, or Rubber Tweed Reinforcements and Hanyo, if you've been paying attention.
Damn right.
There will be a quiz at the end.
Yeah, link in our show notes to the quiz for this episode. It's not there. Yeah, and so after mixing was done, we went to mastering, which we got Brock McFarlane at CPS Mastering, who's done a lot of our releases, and that went super great because Brock is just awesome at what he does. So that was a super easy process.
Yeah, he's just the
and
guy,
then-
isn't he? Isn't he like the guy that most people go to in the Lower Mainland?
Yeah,
He's the Vancouver guy.
It's either him or Andrew Spinder and Stu McKillop at Railtown Mastering. So those are kind of like the two big mastering studios in Vancouver, and all of them are rad. We've worked with both studios, and all rad people all around. Just great ears, great music. So, but yeah, then after that, boom, record was wrapped. We did it.
Yeah.
We recorded the EP. It was that was a very like triumphant feeling. It was cool because I was just like, wow, we're sitting on something that's very different from what we've done in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was kind of like a defining moment where it was like, this is what we want to represent. This is what we want to sound like.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like every record has been like a bit of a shift for us in terms of sound, like between our self-titled record and Younger, and then but the real defining one was Younger to Pretend.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, it's not like I wasn't proud of Younger or anything like that, but I felt like with Pretend we had a record that we could show people and be like, this is us, and like this is like this is the sound that we want. This is like polished and professional and like catchy and just like like that. Yeah, that was it. That was we had like the package.
Yeah, I remember. Well, like I think I said this in an earlier episode where it's like you can definitely like we appropriately evolved, if that makes sense. Like from our first album to our second album makes sense, and from Younger to Pretend made sense. But like I'm just echoing what you guys are saying. It just felt different. Like we were on the right path. It was almost like not like a rebirth. That just sounds way too not correct.
Medical.
Yeah, medical.
Yeah, I for me personally, the way I see it, it was just like because we wrote that record in such a short period of time and turned it around in a short period of time, because basically it was written over the span of 3 months. So like September to November, we started recording in December. We had a finished product by like February, and then we started releasing next year. Like it was probably the most immediate release we'd had up to that point, where it's just like, this is the sound in our head. Let's go record it. We finished it. Let's release it. Like it was, that's another reason I think it felt really good, is because it's like we hadn't, how do I put it? It's not that we hadn't moved past that sound, but it's like we hadn't like evolved more at that point. And like, that was just like, this is exactly what we're going for. And not being like, I wish we could have included something like this. I wish we could have included something like that. Like it was exactly what we were looking for at the time.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to put it. Like it just captured where we were at that time. And when you spend too long on a record, you start to go like you look at something that you recorded like 8-9 months ago and you're like, that's not really my thing anymore, you know? But we had like, we just did it.
We did the thing.
Do you guys remember naming it? Like when did we come up with the name Pretend?
Oh, you know what? It wasn't that like ceremonial. I just remember you, Mike, were just like, Austin, you say pretend a lot on the CP. That's what we should call it.
Was it? What? When does he say pretend? Because the only time I can think of pretend is, well, maybe it's just fun to pretend.
That's not even that.
That's what I'm saying. No. That's the only one I can. That's my point. Is that's the only one I can remember, and it's not from Pretend.
There's one. Yeah. There's one that leads into the chorus and all comes back to you. You mean worst Oprah? Pretend. The worst Oprah Winfrey Show.
Thank you. Yes, it's called the worst Oprah Winfrey Show. Don't forget it.
I think it's in almost every song.
Is it? Or we could be completely wrong, because I remember thinking about this earlier, and I remember only hearing it in that one song.
I guess now that I think about it, like we sort of, I think we talked, like it was something that I suggested, but I feel like we talked about it as like, this name makes sense because the stuff that we wrote about isn't like it's sort of maybe like inspired by real life events, but a lot of them were kind of like stories.
Yeah.
Like especially what all comes back to you is about like cheating on your girlfriend, which is like not something that any of us had done. It was just like something we wrote a song about.
We should reinforce this is not something any of us have done.
So I feel like that's where like that kind of notion of pretend came from. Like it was like, these are like
theoretical
stories. They're fake. Yeah. They're pretend.
It's like putting ourselves in other people's shoes.
Exactly.
Is really the best way to put it.
And then like especially like the way the album artwork turned out, like the chair, but it's what was it? The chair was gray, but in the reflection it was blue. No, I have it the other way around.
Yeah. No, I think that was the way to, because you sort of, if you were to sit in the chair, you would see like the color version of yourself, like this something else.
Shout out,
Well,
Mac
let's
Cho for the photo shoot, by the way, for that record.
I was just about to say, let's talk about the photo shoot and the like sort of art direction for this EP, because we took on. Sorry, I shouldn't say we designed it all as a group, but a lot of the design and layout was done by Mike.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of just like put the font on it, to be fair. But
I was really trying to hype you up here. I thought you'd just run with it and be like, "Yep, that's me."
Well, we really went for like a white aesthetic, right? Like it was all like white backgrounds, white. I mean, I guess that's all I can think of was white backgrounds.
We've been doing white for like the past 3-4 years,
and a little bit of Asian
we did it
and
for
black.
younger.
Just a little bit.
we did the white background for younger, and I feel like when we were making pretend, we kind of saw it as like even though they don't really sound anything alike, we kind of saw it as like an extension of younger in a way. Like it was like part of that phase, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's why we went with the white
aesthetic.
Yeah,
aesthetic.
It was just very bright, very. Why can I not think of any words to describe that other than white and bright?
I think the idea was just like clean, sleek pop aesthetic.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Thank you.
To represent.
Yeah, absolutely, and we definitely took it as like an expansion of what we did when we made younger, and definitely they look like companion pieces in that sort of sense.
Yeah,
and also look really great on a merch stand.
True.
Whenever you can come to one of our shows again. Please.
Maybe next year.
Please. But yeah, that photo shoot was really fun. We went to the Canto, what would you call that? Like the set.
Kind of like a photo studio.
A photo set. Like
yeah.
And we just Mike's dad's speaker company. That was cool. And we were
they were
we got there late. Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, it was like night. It was like 8 p.m. or something like that, and we probably worked till like midnight or 1 a.m. and we just shot. But I remember we didn't really have a lot of ideas, and then we found those chairs.
Yeah,
because they were the company was like briefly into the furniture market, and there were like some chairs out there, and they were all these different colors. We were like, cool, let's just like sit on these, and that became like the album cover and like the photo on our tour poster, and like the photo that we used on
this photo
everything
right here
for a
if
while.
you're watching the video.
True.
Yeah, we got some great photos. I think those are probably like our cleanest, most professional looking photos.
Yeah, they turned out really well, and it's funny just by how, for this whole the whole direction of the actual like artwork and sort of the Associated Press with this record, just kind of how by the seat of our pants we kind of ended up doing it.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah,
for lack of a better term, for sure.
Yeah, because we were going into this EP and we're like, we kind of know what we want it to look like. Like, we want to kind of be bright. We want it to be sleek. We want to use the same font we used on the last record, and just kind of make it sort of an expansion of that. But beyond that, we really didn't have any idea.
Yeah.
And in terms of, we didn't have an idea in terms of a photo shoot to accompany it. We didn't really have any idea in terms of album artwork. Like, we were really just kind of flying by the seat of our pants, and things fell into place, or we sat into place, whichever way you want to put it.
They definitely fell into place, but I will also say that we did learn from the things that we could have done better, right? And especially with what we're doing this year in terms of like planning out everything.
We have like a 1.5 year long timeline in our Google Drive right now.
Yeah.
We've never done any sort of timeline whatsoever, not even like for a week.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was while it was by the seat of we flew by the seat of our pants and things did kind of fall into place. We would definitely recommend not doing that. Like, definitely take the time to plan. That's one thing we took away from it. Like, obviously we were very proud of the way the record came out. And people were listening to it, people were digging it, but planning is always the better route for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I will mention the whole experience was expensive as hell.
Yep.
It was.
That's important to note. Yeah. And,
But I wouldn't take it back. Like,
Well, let's be transparent. What was the number like in terms of the EP? It was like
I want to say like 14,000.
I don't think it was quite that much. I think it was like 10.
yeah, that's what.
I think it was about 10.
I recall about 10.
Okay. Fuck.
So
Yeah.
so
No.
so yeah, so five songs, 10 grand, and that probably 10 grand and some change once you think about the other stuff that went into it.
Yeah, like the music
Yeah, like,
video
I don't
and
know
the
if
press.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what do you consider part of the album though, right? Like
True.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you like all of that, probably a lot more. Probably more money than I want to think about. But
yeah, but in terms of just the recording, mixing, and mastering of the record, it was about 10 grand.
yeah. So
Ouch.
you definitely get what you pay for in that situation. Like we had done a record by ourselves before with Younger, and I think we obviously we got a grant and we did a lot of it ourselves. But even that was still, I guess it was a full record, but it was still like 7 or 8 grand.
Yeah.
So I guess we did pay a fair bit more, but I think we definitely got our money's worth with that record.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then, after that, we took that record and we went to try and make money off that record. So we went and released that single, which was June, I want to say 20th. No, July 20th. No.
I think that's when the record came out.
Yeah,
was
no,
June.
sorry. Oh, no, it was June 1st.
Yeah.
It was June 1st. That's when we released Tell Me. So we released Tell Me June 1st. We were supposed to have a music video with that. And that fell through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit of an interesting time. Yeah, we were supposed to have a music video lined up and ready for the release of Tell Me, but essentially the whole thing kind of collapsed in on itself due to basically I'll put it this way, due to like the ghosting of what would have been important people for sort of putting the whole video together.
A flaky dance crew. That's what it was. A flaky dance crew.
Well, if you want to do it like that, we're doing it like that. Yes. We met with a couple of choreographers because it was supposed to be a dance-based music video, and yes, they ghosted us. They were flaky, so the whole thing fell through. On the bright side, we still made a music video for Mistakes afterwards, and worked with the same core group.
Either though, it was just kind of like, this is a song that we really like. Let's do a music video for it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that was kind of an unfortunate moment. Really kind of put a damper on our plans for the release, because that was something where like we gotta do a music video for this song, and then it kind of just fell apart. So that really sucked. But you know what? We pushed on. We moved forward. We released Tell Me Anyhow. Got some really great press. We got some really great feedback. People were super impressed with what we did, and I mean, so were we. So you kind of hope so.
Yeah.
And we had a good tour, and it worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then so we released the album July 20th. A week later, we played our release show, which was at the Biltmore Cabaret, which is like a pretty well-known music venue here in Vancouver. With our friends Escapes and Belcara. That was a really good time. Shout out to both of them. Then we hopped on, what was it, a 3-week Canadian tour after that.
Yeah. 3.5 week. Yeah. And that was our first cross Canada tour. We'll probably do an episode for each tour, I would imagine.
I think
in the
so.
future, but
there's so many good stories to go with tours. It's like, for us, it really makes sense to kind of split up, studio work and then like tour, because there's so many stories and things you can tell in each one that it doesn't make sense to condense either one and miss out on what really makes both of those processes fun and interesting for people to listen to.
Definitely.
Gotta get into the meat and potatoes of each process.
Yes.
This is a tell-all podcast.
Tell me all podcast.
Tell me all.
Oh boy.
This is a micropube podcast.
Well,
and it's full of mistakes.
Such is the way we are ending this podcast, full of mistakes. We could have done it better, but you know what? There's no better way that we could do it, because this is just who we are, baby.
And it's not going to be the only one.
That's
Nice.
right. We hold to nothing in terms of regrets. We move on to the next episode. Have we hit all the points? Have we hit all the songs?
We haven't hit all of them, but they
Well,
all
you know
come
what?
There's
back
one more.
to you.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's it. We're ending the episode. That's the note we finish on.
Don't
we've
forget to
made-
check the show notes for all pretend related stuff, music video,
Yeah.
the EP itself.
Yeah, we might include some nice little like supporting material in terms of maybe some like behind the scenes videos of the recording of Pretend for those who are interested. If so, those will be in the show notes. If not, we'll cut this out. Anyways, guys, thank you so much once again for joining us on BandChat. We have a great time, and we hope you did too. So we'll see you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.